Hello everyone, how are you doing this morning? I like to start my projects in the morning, that way I know I have the whole day if I need to keep an eye on them. I've decided I want to dehydrate some peppers today. I got these gorgeous peppers at Aldi. There were 3 in a package. We like peppers for fresh eating. So I tend to have them in the refrigerator most of the time. I do a lot of food prep and I will cut them into strips and prepare them, have them in the refrigerator, and that way they make an easy snack. But these I wanted to dehydrate. Today I'm going to work on a dehydrated mix. I have these peppers. I'm also going to do a couple of onions and I'm going to do some celery. And then I'm going to mix it all together in a bowl jar, and that way they'll be on the shelf and ready for when I want to throw together a quick soup or a quick meal using those items all mixed together. So let's prep up these peppers. I'm going to cut the tops off, and then I'm going to scoop out the middles. Here's our gorgeous bowl of chopped up peppers. And as you can see, I left the pieces a little bit larger because I want them to look nice in the mix. And that way when I'm making my soups or stews with them, you'll be able to tell exactly what they are. Now I'm going to cut up 1 onion. I'm not doing heavy on the onion for this batch of soup mix. I chose the largest onion in the bag. I do like to keep some fresh onions, so I didn't want to use them all this time. And what I do with the peels, sometimes they go to the worms, but first they'll go in the freezer for when I'm ready to feed the worms. And we're going to cut this in half, and then we'll cut it like this. I'm going to do larger pieces. I'm not putting them in the food processor this time. So this is more the way I would cut it if I were to be making a fresh soup or stew. Sorry about the loud noise. I got this cutting board at Goodwill and I really like it. It is a tempered piece of glass sold by Pyrex. And that means if I want to, I can use it for a hot pad as well when I put things on the table. That was part of the reason why I bought it. And the other reason was it's got chickens on it. And since I can't have chickens in the yard, I figured I could have chickens in the kitchen. So, and plus it was only $3. So what's not to like about that price? So this is the size of my onions. I'm going to put them in a container, and boy, they're potent too. Eyes are starting to water. So let me get those in a bowl. And just so you know, one thing that I learned from when I dehydrated the onions, some of them turned a little bit pink in color, and I was a little bit worried about that. But it's a totally normal process. So if your onions happen to turn pink when you're dehydrating, it's nothing to worry about.
This was the last bit of celery that I had in the fridge. So I'm going to just chop the whole thing, leaves and all. I have rinsed it off. And I'm just going to cut the slices. And we'll put them on the drying racks as they are.
I know I have mentioned it before, but I really have to get creative with filming in the kitchen because it's not always easy to do. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to put the peppers on first. And remember, you want to keep pretty much a single layer. And what that does is it allows your dehydrator not to work as hard as it can. It can work a little bit more efficiently to get things dry. So, doesn't that look pretty? I love colors. Too bad I didn't have an orange one or a green one to add in there. But I'm using what I had in the refrigerator. And part of the reason why I'm dehydrating this year is because I am learning new skills with preserving food. So by dehydrating some of what comes out of the garden when we're actually gardening, I will have food to use through next winter and in the coming year after that. And I also think I'll have rather nice gifts to share with people. All right, let's get a layer of onion on here because I might have to. And if some fall through, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to worry about it if the pieces fall through. Okay, because don't forget, I still have to get this celery on here. And I think this will be a nice addition to have in the pantry. Okay, so we got our onion on there. And now we're going to get a tray and put the celery on, and we'll see what we can do with the rest of the peppers. So I hope these pieces aren't too big. This is the first time I'm doing celery or peppers, and I know the leaves will dry up. You can always put those in your soups and things. You don't have to worry about them. It's just another flavoring. Okay, maybe this tray will be a little bit. There we go. Get some pepper up here. But I plan to put all of these in the same jar, so that's why I'm not worried if some of the flavors may mix with one another. So I'm going to check my book. Let's look at that real quick to see. Now we know the onions will take about 12 hours. And celery takes 3 to 10 hours. And peppers take 3 to 20. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to start them a little bit lower. I'm going to start them at the 90 degrees, and then I'll bring them up to the 125. And we'll go from there. We'll see how long it takes. And I'll be bringing you back so you could see the finished product. I think these have dehydrated enough. I think one of the things about this experience with dehydrating peppers is the peppers were so nice and thick-walled. It did take them a little bit longer to dehydrate than I had planned. Excuse me. So what had happened was when I went to bed last night, I turned off the dehumidifier. When I went to bed last night, I turned off the dehydrator. I didn't want to let it run through the night last night. So I turned it back on when I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, because that seems to be what my clock is doing. My internal clock is getting me up at 3 in the morning. So let's take a look and see how these have done. I'm going to be putting these in an older bowl jar. It's actually one of those square rounds. So these were the ones that I got from a friend, and since they're older, I don't want to can in them, so I'm going to put my dried things in them. So, there's some peppers and some of the celery. And one of the ways we can check, can you hear it? Ooh, some of them are still a little leathery. I hope that's okay. These were really thick wool. Didn't they shrink up a whole lot? It's just amazing how much this stuff shrinks. So I need to let these cool off a bit before we go and put them into the jar. And they really didn't do too bad without a mat, even though from switching the trays, I did end up with quite a bit in the bottom. The reason you want to let these cool off before you put them in the jar is because it could cause some moisture to develop inside the jar as the dehydrated items cool off. So that's why it's really important before you store them to let them cool off all the way. Sat for a little while, and now, as I said again, everything's been cleaned. It's I don't have a lot of counter space here in the kitchen, so I tend to use the stovetop an awful lot, and I've learned to be very careful about doing that so that nothing ends up melting. What I'm going to do to try to make this a little bit easier, since some of the things are falling through, and I hope you can see this okay, I'm going to take everything off on the bottom tray and put the trays back on the bottom, because I guess I'm really going to need to order those mats if I want to continue to do this, because they're mostly falling through. So I did manage to find some of them on Amazon with mixed reviews, so I'm not sure which kind I'm going to order, but I'll probably end up ordering some in the near future. And if you have any suggestions, if you have a Nesco American Harvest dehydrator, I'd appreciate your suggestion on which is best. So since it seems that more of these have fallen through the grating than I've actually put in the jar so far, I guess that's what we're going to have to do, just let them fall through, and then I'll get them out of here. So let me just show these to you. Let's see, isn't that look like a nice mix with the 4 different colors? I can't wait to show you how they look in the jar when I get done with this. So let me continue to put these in here, and I'll bring you back when I have the jar filled up. I managed to get all 4 trays of the vegetables in here. I hope you can see this nice. Look at how nice that looks in the jar. So it's hard to believe that's 4 peppers, 1 onion, and the small bit of celery that I had. But it smells delicious, so I can't wait to give it a try in some soup. And I'm glad you joined me for this journey. I hope that if you have a dehydrator hiding somewhere in one of your closets or down in your basement, out in the garage, that you'll give it a try and see what you could do with your dehydrator to help preserve some food from your garden or from your refrigerator. So have a great day. Thanks for joining me. Give me a thumbs up if you liked today's video. Bye.